Hello, everyone, and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest returning for today's episode. Mayanna Berrin has joined us again on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. How's it going, Mayanna?
Oh my God, so good. How are you?
Great.
Yay.
Welcome back. You are here
you.
to talk about the Game Awards. They happened last week, the 3-hour event. So we're going to devote an entire episode to talking about all of the stuff.
Initial thoughts already too long.
Agreed.
Yeah.
3.5 if you count the pre-show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was very long. So we're going to talk about that as our main segment for today. In the news, Banjo-Kazooie is coming to NSO in January. Some NPD numbers. Some kind of released for the Analog Pocket came out. Some rumors about Mega Man movie. And our favorite subject, the blockchain Kickstarter is coming to the blockchain. As well as some many more news items. How are y'all doing?
Pretty good. Yeah. Had a decent weekend.
Deece.
It was
Good
decent.
breathe there.
Yeah, thank you.
What's a dece?
Decent.
Decent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Translate.
Come on,
to non-
breathe with me. Breathe with me.
Yeah.
Decent
I just
short
don't
for
have
decent?
time to say decent. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
say decent. But anyway, but yeah, it was all right. I didn't leave the house a lot this past week, so that was a bit weird. But I did go out one night. That was great. And then the rest of the time, I've been rewatching The Expanse. Season 6, the first episode just dropped. And so I'm watching the show through a Saturday right now. We're both super hooked on rewatching everything. So now I'm trying to breeze through it as fast as possible so I can get to these new episodes. What about you guys? You guys been getting into anything?
I was in Seattle over the weekend. Made
right.
a visit over to the 343 Industry Studios. They went to have a little Halo museum. So I had a little tour of that. Thanks to a friend who got us in. I was in Seattle to play with my Halo crew for Infinite that got officially released on the 8th. So that was cool. It was nice to go through this tour. They had all these props from the TV shows and from conferences and trade shows over the years. So it told a whole story. It was nice and very intimate. It was only 5
That sounds
of us.
awesome.
It was
Yeah.
really cool.
I had a fine week, but something you just said reminded me of this. I guested on the Boss Rush podcast.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which was cool. But also, David, this topic came up of rewatching old seasons when a new season comes up / rewatching shows just in general.
Yeah.
And I am just not somebody that rewatches anything.
Me either.
Yeah. Or replays games or anything like that. There's so much stuff that I'm on to the next. And if it's a new season of a show I want to watch, I just figure it out as it goes along.
Yeah.
Or
No,
I watch those little recaps they have now.
I'm usually that way, but it's The Expanse is such a rewatchable show because it's fucking dense. You know what I mean? There's so much going on that you get something out of it every time.
Yeah.
And but I also just rewatched the whole Get Back 8 hours of the Get Back documentary. So maybe
You
don't talk to me.
rewatched it?
I don't know,
just
man.
In case you missed something the
There
first
is
time?
value.
There's a lot in it.
There is.
There's value in rewatching or rereading or whatever. Because you can appreciate the whole as you appreciate it. And I get that. It's not something I do a lot. And that made
It's
me
all
look at
good.
that conversation.
Well, you should watch The Expanse once.
You love that show. You talk about it
I
all
love
the
it.
time.
It's my favorite show of all time. Yeah.
Dude, maybe you should marry it, bro.
He got you there.
We'll see. Mayanna, how have you been recently?
Oh my God. How was my weekend? I finished Succession because I didn't want memes to spoil it for me because that happens. I watched West Side Story. I thought it was good. I also thought it was unnecessary. And just because it's come on. Okay. And then I also saw, oh my God. Oh, I gotta say, sorry, I'm gonna be that guy for a second. And just like that, the Sex and the City, not reboot, continuation, I really like it.
Nice.
I think it's really solid. So I watched that, was enjoying that. I helped my brother move. And that was about it. Yeah. Oh man. It really went by so fast.
This whole year, man, it's gone by
I'm ready to get into the next one. These last 3 weeks are just kind of a limp to the finish line. Nothing's getting done. No one's going anywhere. Let's just.
We have
on.
senioritis for the end of the
Yeah, dude, honestly, I do. It feels like finals week for me at work. I'm like not really eating on a proper schedule. I'm just like drinking a lot of coffee and just being like, it'll be over soon.
Yeah, you feel the same way about the rest of the year, like as we feel about TV shows. You're like, I've already done it, 2021. I don't need to rewatch these last few weeks.
So with you on that. I'm like, I saw it. I wasn't on my phone when it was on my television. It was beamed into my eyeballs. Yeah. I will also say, David, I did watch a bit of the Get Back, and I think the best way to watch the Get Back documentary is while you are also doing work, so that it feels like you're working on something. They're working on something. Yeah. We're all working on something. It's like it helps me be more productive.
Right. I'm just trying to practice my accent.
I'm just trying to get it right. Out. Yeah.
I've got a lot to do on this.
Just tell me what you want me to play, and I'll play it, please, Paul. I just want to make you happy.
He's like, what the fuck are we doing here?
All right.
By the way, every episode of this podcast from now on is going to start with Beatles stuff. Just so you know.
Okay. Hey, before we move on, like, what do y'all do about like Christmas movies? Do you ever rewatch those? How do you celebrate holidays?
Just Jingle All the Way.
Oh, I just said that, Matthew, but I do rewatch kids' movies a million times because
that's kind of that cuts through. That doesn't count.
Well, Patrick, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I'm a liar, and I'm gonna leave right now. Thanks for having me.
Please don't.
Yeah, please.
I'm Jewish, so I like to watch Christmas movies like Jane Goodall liked to watch The Eights. They fall in love in the small town. I see. One of them's a high-powered business executive, and the other one owns a candle store. Interesting.
Oh, good stuff. All right. So our last episode was on the final update to Smash Ultimate, and we got a great comment from Tommy Green, who says that if they don't pull a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with Smash Bros. On the next console, that they would be dumbfounded and that Waluigi will return. We'll see, Tommy, if that's true.
We'll see.
So, we'd love to hear from our listeners and viewers and all that sort of thing. So please do reach out to us if you have any thoughts on the Game Awards or anything we talk about. And then do us a favor and share the podcast online, leave a review somewhere, 5 stars, like and subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We appreciate it. And then we have a lot of interesting news and rumors to go through this week. So let's get started with that. While we're talking about Smash Ultimate, Masahiro Sakurai, the director of Smash games and Smash Ultimate, did a interview with The Verge. And this is no new ground really broken here. Asked a lot of the same sort of questions that I think he talked about in some of his last columns. But I always think it's funny to maybe it's a cultural thing or maybe it's just a Sakurai thing. Like my favorite moment here is that they ask him, what is he most proud of? And in terms of the DLC and now that it's all finished, how did it line up with how you envisioned it? And is there anything you're particularly proud of? And he's like, some things fell short and I don't want to boast about it.
I just hope that man gets some sleep now, please.
Yeah.
Please get a full REM cycle, please.
I think he will. I mean, he basically said this is the least amount of work he's ever had in his life. He's like, I'm glad. I'm more free now than I've ever been.
I'm
ever
happy
in my life.
For him.
Yeah. That's pretty.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. It's cool that he did this interview with The Verge. I think he also did one with Polygon, maybe. But it's he doesn't usually do interviews with Western outlets. So, I mean, it shows that he has free time.
He's got the time
to talk to these people. Yeah. But either way, it's cool to hear.
Yeah. Worth checking out if you're into Smash or want to hear more about Sakurai. And then in some sad news, Masayuki Uemura, who is one of the hardware designers or former hardware designers for Nintendo, who created the Famicom and the Super Famicom. I believe that there were some other people involved in the Western versions of those in the sort of redesign, but he passed away this past week at the age of 78. So somebody who's, worth mentioning just for all their involvement in early Nintendo hardware and that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely one of the, it's kind of sad that it's, we don't really hear about a lot of these people until they've passed away. but there's like so many unsung heroes in Nintendo and all of gaming, right? It's like, what was it? Recently, I think it was one of the guy who like created the cartridge format passed away, and it was like, holy shit, like I would have never even known about this guy, but it's like changed all of gaming forever. And Famicom and Super Famicom are such like iconic images. I mean, even if we didn't get them in the West, we all know what they look like, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's sad to hear, but quite a career regardless.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this when this happened last year, but Kotaku had an interview with Uemura last year at some point. This was really fascinating. I'm pretty sure we talked about it back then, but worth checking out. Another thing, just to hear that person talk all about their storied career.
Mm.
And then Matt mentioned this Banjo-Kazooie, one of the Nintendo 64 games that's coming to NSO expansion pack, mind you, was announced for January. And I don't believe, though correct me if I'm wrong, that we have an exact date. We just told January because the link I put in here is to the Japanese Twitter. So that was dumb of me. But
It's okay.
Patrick, don't be mean to yourself. It's just a link.
It's just a link. But either way, suggests if the pattern is to be believed, with Paper Mario coming in December, Banjo-Kazooie coming January, that these are going to come out once a month. Do you think that it's fair to make that assumption, or do you think that's, who knows?
I think it's fair to make that assumption, but I think you'd be a fool to expect anything. You know what I mean? It's like, I feel like everything Nintendo does feels like it's the start of a pattern, and then they just always usurp or just abandon whatever you expect that they're going to do, right? Like it was 2 months after we got the first batch that we then got Paper Mario, right? And then now it's seeming like 1 month, right? But it's like I would not be surprised if 3 or 4 months pass and then we get Kirby 64 or something. You know what I mean? It's like,
those were good ones.
Yeah. I mean, they're all great games. And if it is 1 month, one game a month, I think that's like acceptable. But what I'm trying to say is like, you kind of have to be told this stuff. Otherwise, like expecting anything out of Nintendo is a dangerous game. Just because, I don't know, they just prove time and time again that they make very strange decisions.
The world's most dangerous game, hunting humans and expecting anything from Nintendo.
Exactly.
Now, but if you do want to get overhyped with unrealistic expectations, 1 game a month would put them up through June, and then we'd have E3 where they could announce
a whole
dozens
batch of
new games or another system.
Patrick, you're adding to the problem, Patrick. We have to
I'm part of the problem.
Let's hope. I like your hope. Let's hope for Win Back 2.
Yeah, maybe the Dreamcast port of Winback on N64 NSO. No, I mean, look, this would be great, but still, I need a roadmap, man. Because we also got Genesis, and it's like there's been no news about any new Genesis games being added, even though they said they will be adding games when they first announced the expansion pack, right? So I hope they can turn some of this stuff around and actually put some stuff out there. But I think like Nintendo just gets off on like withholding information.
Yeah. The November NPD numbers came out. So reminder to our listeners, NPD is the American US sales of video games. That's what they cover. And it covers digital and physical for most entities, but not specifically for Nintendo. They keep their digital sales numbers. So any place that Nintendo falls in this kind of stuff is physical only, which makes it interesting. But here's what we got out of this of note for Nintendo fans. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is the best selling or fastest selling or whatever release week or month Shin Megami Tensei game in America. Not surprising there. And then if you look at like the specific Nintendo chart, obviously Pokemon is in the lead. And I think Pokemon even like has like way up in like the year charts.
Yeah,
or
it's probably
Yeah, I
the top
bought
games
it.
of the year.
So
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
how many people bought it on this call right now?
Well, you're talking to the three
Yeah, wrong
not
crowd.
So,
Yeah.
not so.
Well, 1 in
Pokemon
4
Nintendo
people
fans.
tend to buy the Pokemon.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There you go. 1 in 4 people on Earth.
But that's obviously leading the Nintendo charts. And then it's Super Mario or Mario Party Superstars. So many Super and Mario names. And then of course a bunch of the evergreen titles, your Mario Kart 8, Animal Crossing, and all that, and Shin Megami Tensei in there. But also of note to me is that 10th in the Nintendo games is Mario Kart Live Home Circuit, which I think may be due to holiday bundles.
Yeah,
and sales
that tracks.
and stuff.
Grandparents mistaking it for the real game.
Yeah, it was heavily discounted.
They slashed it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, especially if you had the Mario set and your kids liked it, adding a Luigi car is a no-brainer when it's half off, I think, especially if you have multiple kids, that'll leave them entertained for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
We got you Mario Kart, and it's not the game. It's just that.
Yeah.
We got you the Mario Kart Hot Wheels.
Yeah,
There you
yeah, we
go.
thought-
There
Yeah.
you go.
Vroom, vroom.
Merry Christmas. Pretend it's the video game.
What did you want to mention, David?
Oh yeah, just something of note for me was the lack of Metroid Dread anywhere in the top 10.
Oh, yeah,
So close to release.
Fell off.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us kind of expected that might have a little bit more legs than it seems like it is having. Now, that having been said, like you said before,
Digital,
this is
yeah.
this is physical only, so
It's
we
not
don't
a
really
kid
know.
Game, so
That's
maybe-
true. That's a good point.
But I mean, I think that this is also kind of like, when we talked about Metroid Dread, it was like, this game is not made for newcomers of the series necessarily. Like, this is a tough game.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't hold your hand. It's not like the Wii-ification of a lot of games where it's like, here's an assist feature or whatever. There's no such thing like that in this game. So it's not surprising, but also I do think it didn't have quite as long of legs as I thought it would. But we'll see at the end of the year, whenever we get those next financials, how many copies it's actually sold.
Also, Nintendo Switch is again the best-selling console hardware in America, and so much so, I guess that Nintendo decided to put out a press release, using these NPD numbers to publications and such.
Interesting.
Stating that I'm trying to find the exact. It's 35 out of the last 36 months that the Switch has been the top.
The
selling video game
article
console.
read, "That's right, guys. We did it again. You liked it great last month. Get ready
Yeah.
for the same news again this month."
Yeah, exactly.
I always think this is a fascinating aspect of the NPD is the mobile spending, because we're console gamers and we like to talk about console gaming stuff, but once more November, like, spending on mobile games has like increased year over year, and also it's once more exceeded $2 billion in mobile game spending. So that's like the last like almost every month this year, consumer spending on mobile games has exceeded that, and that's nuts to me.
It's
Yeah.
maddening. I can't play games on my phone.
It's driving the industry a lot.
I know
though.
it is. I just can't do it.
I hear you. I don't really either.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of like the movie industry, and it's like I just feel like, and this is probably an unfair comparison to make in some ways, but it's like, you see a huge amount of like low budget horror movies
Yeah.
being pushed out constantly in Hollywood, because horror is something that always is going to have an audience, and you can make it for a lot cheaper. And so the actual overhead and the profits that you get are like astronomical if you get a hit. And then if you don't and it fails, you spent small
Yeah.
enough amount of money on it to where you're not losing that much by taking the risk. And I feel like a lot of the mobile industry is like that as well. It's like, let's just pump out as much shit as we can, separate our studio into as many like little sub teams as possible, see what sticks, and then throw everybody on that once it becomes a success. And I
that's
just
a
feel
good
like that's what's
point.
driving the industry. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I have played Florence, and I have played, what is it? Rain? Is that the one with the cards?
Reigns. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's like different variations of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that one's really good. I think it's just like, the kind of gaming experience that I enjoy typically doesn't happen on mobile.
Right.
But I mean, obviously there's value in it. And like a normal Lost Phone, which is great. Like there are good mobile games. I'm not
totally.
sorry, mobile games.
No,
I'm sorry.
I also think, and I've been reading this book about game design by Jesse Schell, who's like head of a studio, and really fascinating book from just a human perspective as well. But in it, Jesse Schell talks about how there's different spheres where we play games, like and how mobile gaming and the Switch also have allowed for video games to come into what he terms the reading nook, sort of this like quiet place in your house where you do something that's just you. And I think
that's a great point.
And I think that you know, as somebody who loves the Switch, you might not be as interested in mobile games because you kind of have that.
You have a console experience.
Yes, on something that other people might play. Anyway, it's a whole other fascinating conversation, but that just made me think of that.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We should move on though. We've talked about that. Unless there's anything else from the MPD anybody noticed that wants to mention, there's always worth checking out Matt Piscatella's Twitter, where he breaks down all of this information. And then so the Analog Pocket, which we've talked about before, is sort of a modern retro handheld gaming device. It kind of looks like a Game Boy, but I think you can play a bunch of different old like you can actually put your cartridges in there, correct?
Yeah.
From a handful of systems. Is that correct?
Right. So out of the box, so it's shaped like an original kind of DMG Game Boy, or like a Game Boy Pocket sort of form factor. And right out of the box, it'll play your Game Boy games, Game Boy Color games, and Game Boy Advance games. And so it has all those kind of SoCs like built into the system itself. And then you can buy little converter pack things that go into the back that'll then play like Game Gear, and I think even like Neo Geo Pocket, maybe like Wonder Swan or something like that. So but the thing about it that everybody's really excited about is that it's actual like hardware emulation. It's not like one of these kind of Chinese handheld emulator devices, which have their place. I actually own one of those and I really enjoy them. But this is something that'll like play your actual like your game cart collection that you currently have.
Oh, that's cool.
And it looks really nice. It's like very svelte and has a really nice design to it. And the screen is like 10 times the resolution of the original Game Boy or something like that, but it scales perfectly, right? So it's looking pretty good. I don't know if you guys caught any of these reviews, but they're looking pretty nice.
It's great.
Yeah, the reviews are all positive, and I think I don't know if was it a Kickstarter or was it just a pre-order type situation, but they're shipping out now, I believe.
Yeah, pre-orders are shipping now. Yeah.
And then I saw this today, so I think this is new news today, but there's a rumor, IGN broke this apparently from some sources they have, that Netflix is developing a live action Mega Man.
Timothy Chalamet, let's go. Let's get our spooky boy in a blue bodysuit. Come on.
Okay.
Oh
I'm
my
listening.
God.
I'm listening.
That is really funny.
He's got the limbs and that winning smile. And Mega
like
Man's
this.
a brunette, so
Wait, is Mega Man? How do you know what Mega Man's? I guess he is.
Or I guess his human counterpart, because there's like the kid or something that connects to Mega Man. In some of the I've played like 2 Mega Man games, the ones that vaguely looked like an anime for my own interests. And there's like a human boy sometimes.
Yeah.
And then he plugs into Mega Man, or he like turns into Mega Man. I don't know.
This is insanity.
It's a sprawling world. It's got like dense lore in the same way like I feel like Sonic the Hedgehog does, but there's so much of it, and most of it doesn't
come
translate
together well.
It doesn't all play together great.
I just feel like there's kind of already been a live action Mega Man movie, and it's called Alita Battle Angel. It's basically the plot of Mega Man, all the way down to like the main villain of it is basically a Dr. Wily style villain.
He's so much like it's like, and they're evil doctor. It is so much just Sonic again.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it's like, I don't know. I just feel like
Timothy Chalamet, though. Come on, guys.
I mean, no, I would love to see Timothy Chalamet as the boy in blue, but
who else would do it? Who else could?
Haley Joel Osment. He's too old. He's not a child.
Oh yeah, I guess if it's animated, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's live.
I don't know why I
action.
immediately assumed it was going to be live action.
It
just 'cause I
is,
heard
or that's what they
Netflix.
said.
It is.
Yeah.
Let's go
that's the
for
rumor.
Mega Man Netflix live action gritty remake with Kieran Culkin.
Oh,
He's like, what
In
do you
between
just
seasons of
just shoot out your cannon or whatever.
You want to turn my arm into a cannon?
Dr. Wiley, played by Brian Cox. Let's just get Succession in here. Let's just get
That's
all
what I'm
the.
saying. Mhm.
Let's just get all the
my
guys. Come on.
Chris
Take
Pratt?
your arm cannon and fuck off. Sorry.
Ah.
I'm all in voices today.
All right. Too late for me to make my jokes. Okay.
You can.
No, it's the moment has passed. I wanted to say Chris Pratt or the guy that's in all the stuff now. Like who's the one that casted for is it Uncharted or whatever?
Oh, Tom Holland. Tom Holland.
Oh yeah.
Tom Holland.
Yeah,
Timothy Chalamet. Duke it out. Let's go. Who wants to be Mega Man bad? Who wants it? Come on.
I feel like there's definitely like a reason Netflix hasn't announced this yet, and it's like this was broken like right after it's announced that the Cowboy Bebop anime has like been canceled, or that the Cowboy Bebop
The
live
live
action has been
action,
canceled.
Anybody watch that?
I'm actually kind of upset that it was canceled, to be honest.
Oh
I liked
yeah.
it. Yeah,
I didn't watch it.
yeah. It's all good. But yeah, it's certainly, I feel like if Netflix is going to announce any more live action adaptations, it's going to be a second before they do so.
Yeah, and they're doing a Sonic series. They're doing like an animated Sonic series, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cuphead.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go.
So PlayStation announced, I think this was pretty recent, maybe even today or yesterday, that they you can purchase console covers
For the console you don't own.
for the play. You can have your console covers, your colored purple or pink or blue or whatever console color for your PlayStation 5 before you get your PlayStation 5, probably. Yeah.
I'm going to pick a purple one to imagine what it'll look like on my
Yeah,
non-existent PS5.
And there's corresponding controllers, the DualSense, that also have those colors, which is it's cool, I guess, right? I don't know. Do we care?
Could we get more PS5s first, please?
Yeah.
How much do these little things cost?
I think they're expensive. I think the covers are particularly expensive considering.
I
that
gotta
they
know.
are.
I
I saw it somewhere, but I don't think the link I have has it on. there.
$3.99.
Oh my gosh! No.
$3.90. Sorry, not $3.
Yeah, no, I made that up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I almost
believe it
you.
or not, I believe they're $60.
Yeah.
$55.
Well, this
Come
is
on.
And
So-
the controllers are $75.
and that's not just plates for the controller. That's a whole controller. That's
That's like
already
the
colored,
controller, so maybe that's fine. But like the
Yeah.
cover for the thing is $55.
How
Yeah.
much is a regular PS5 controller?
correct? Probably that price.
That's a good
It better
question.
be.
It might
Yeah.
be. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit cheaper because like aren't
I hope
all the
so.
Microsoft like the colored ones are usually
Yeah, it's
more
just the
expensive.
DualSense is an expensive controller. Like it's
Yeah.
got a lot of tech in it, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, and it's so it doesn't that I don't balk at that price. But I do know it is a shame because Sony has been shutting down like D-Brand and a lot of other companies have been making custom interchangeable plates for the PS5, and they've shut every single one of them down, which is just a shame.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like.
Capitalism breeds innovation, don't you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's you don't see Nintendo stopping third-party peripheral makers,
decals are great. Like
Yeah,
decals and the silicone covers are great. And artists make like cool ones. Yeah.
Yeah. And these are all just like kind of primary colors too, so it's like, it'd be nice to be able to see some convertible things. But anyway, it'll be nice not to have just like a fleet. Like whenever the robot uprising happens, it'll be nice to have not just a fleet of all white PS5s.
Yeah, some of the
revolting against us.
PS5s taking
Which is
over the
scary.
government will be Aqua.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There'll be some variety, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
So next up is that Kickstarter has announced that it is going to be switching its technology to blockchain. And I wanted to put this in the notes in part because Kickstarter is relevant to video games, but it's also a topic that we have not really talked about. And that is sort of how like Ubisoft, and I think some other companies have talked about getting into crypto and NFTs. And this is an increasingly a thing that's happening with video games. In fact, I had a little personal experience with it recently, which made me kind of curious about it. We had a big discussion on the Discord about it.
That was a great discussion. I walked into that. I was like, wow, this NFT and blockchain discussion lasted like a couple of hours.
It gets people heated.
Yeah.
NFTs.
A lot of feelings.
Well, so
for and against.
As listeners may know, like, I mean, we should focus on Kickstarter, but I also think we can do a broad talk about this because I look for video game writing gigs on gig websites, and I saw one that looked good. I applied to it, and then they were like, yeah, you'd be perfect for this. And here's what it is. And I was like, oh, that's not what your description said previously. It's all about Tezos and getting.
And that's a coin.
That's a crypto coin.
Yeah,
and NFTs and yada yada. And so I walked away. But like, it also made me wonder, like, what is the deal with this? And why is this happening? What does it mean? What are all these games with crypto? How does it work? I guess so. Yeah. Anybody have any thoughts on Kickstarter or just in general this topic?
The blockchain just makes me scared. Like, I don't understand it in the same way people don't understand the monster that lives in the lake. I just know I'm afraid of it. I don't trust that it has good intentions. I feel as though it is coming for me specifically. It feels like that gold, like everyone calls it like the next gold rush, right? It's like NFTs are the new gold rush. These crypto coins are the new gold rush. They have these really strong communities that I think are cool because it's like they kind of boost the value of their own community coin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel very strongly like if I can't see it and if it's got some weird exchange rate, I just don't think I don't trust it. Something in my being goes, I don't know about that. Mm-mm.
Well, it's just even more like the blockchain and crypto in general is just like you take something that already is formless, like money, like there's no gold standard for our currency right now, right? Like it kind of just is this made up thing, and then you make it like even more make believe with crypto,
and even more expensive,
right? Exactly, and terrible for the environment. There's a laundry list of things that are bad about crypto, right? But but personally, to me, I'm disappointed to see this from Kickstarter as somebody who's. I've run multiple successful Kickstarters. I'm a big fan of the platform. And so this to me is just like, damn, like it feels like somebody high up at Kickstarter is like trying to cash in on the fad and changing their entire back end of something that's been really successful for creators and people who want to create and get their stuff out. And this whole idea of crowdfunding is such a beautiful, amazing part of the internet, right? And it's like, and just seeing it move to the blockchain just makes it feel like, oh man, okay, when this whole thing inevitably fucking folds in on itself and self-destructs, like you're going to go down with the ship, And so it's like, so that's disappointing to me to see. And we touched on this a little bit last week, talking about, digital ownership and stuff like that, and whether or not tying games to the blockchain is a way to do that. And it's, obviously times are changing. I think some of this is probably a little bit of get off my lawnism, but it's like, I feel like in that I feel like I'm falling behind the times in a way. And so I resent it to a certain degree, but I don't know. I do get just bad feelings about the whole thing. And it's not a direction I'd like to see the game industry or any industry go outside of a crypto specific industry, right?
The one that weirded me out was like Mila Kunis was on Hot Ones talking about the TV show that she developed with Ashton via the blockchain, and like it's like, and so it's like a crowd-funded show. I think it's called Stoner Cats, and it's like fully funded through investment via NFTs and the blockchain. And that makes me very nervous for the future of the film and television industry. If we can just get a bunch of eccentric, presumably rich NFT peeps to start funding TV shows. I don't know what that means for.
They're the real tastemakers, huh?
Oh, they love stoner cats.
Stoner cats.
As a stoner myself, I agree.
Matt Stoner Cats.
Take that for what it is. This is just to get around EU laws, I assume. Because like consumer protection laws are changing and are ever more increasing in the European Union, and especially with the Kickstarter, who has had millions and tens of millions of dollars that have projects that have fallen through where consumers were not protected. So I assume that this move is a little bit, David, what you're saying to like, it's popular. It's very much on brand for a fad right now to build NFTs or be on the blockchain, but also it decentralizes data. So you can't really have regulation on data that exists everywhere in order to protect consumers.
Anytime I hear deregulation in association with money, I get nervous.
You should.
Anytime I hear the word blockchain, I think a little spirit leaves my body. Like a little just 1% of
and
my
enters
being.
the blockchain. Yeah.
It's like Beetlejuice. Yeah, it like summons the essence of the blockchain.
Well, we have entered sort of the negative news section here with this. So one of the things that's been happening over at Activision Blizzard is that employees there have been attempting to or starting the process of starting a union, which, again, humble opinions here, but I think that's great. And I think there's been a leaked email from one of the leaders over there, who incidentally apparently was in the Trump administration.
Oh my God, the surprise.
So there's a leaked email where they, and I've seen the image of the email and stuff like that. It's not in the link I have on here, but, I guess walk the line of not like saying anything illegal, but try to vaguely threaten the employees or say like you're giving up a bunch of, the consequences of this or so and whatnot. And there's some.
It was a lot of like, we urge you to consider to blah, blah. It's like the standard union busting fare.
The Kotaku like subtitle for it was, please don't unionize. Please. And I was like, that, maybe if you didn't, that'd be so cool if you didn't.
And I think the NPR article even has some quotes from a former employee who recently just quit because of some of the backlash that they were getting for their push to unionize, who like just recently quit. So that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Or a good thing that this is being talked about and leaking. Yeah. I don't know, depending on what element of it we're talking about here. It's a good thing that this is happening. It sucks that it's being fought so hard. But there's like a strike going on as well, or there has been, and there's a fund you can donate to. So, look into that if you're so inclined.
I don't want to be overly optimistic, but it just feels like we're on the cusp of something pretty big here, know? And it's like, and not just in the games industry, but all over, we're seeing lots of work, and it's COVID and the whole staying at home just made people realize like how much they've been fucked by these major companies for decades. And it's like, I just think people are finally kind of starting to get wise to it. And you see, I'm seeing lots of talk about how to spot union busters and like, what to do if you're being approached by the, and it's like, it's people looking out for people rather than just kind of taking whatever they hear from above as gospel. And it's like, and that's really encouraging to me. And it's like, if we can start on a big company like Activision getting something like this going, know that shit's gonna roll downhill. That's not the right expression there.
I remember back when Telltale was doing their layoffs a couple years ago, that there was like a lot of players within the community who were just like, but could you just finish the game? Like it means so much to the players to just finish the game. And I think just even between that, which was like 2018, 2019 to now, sentiments have started to shift as people start to understand that it's like, these are not passion projects. These people are passionate. People are passionate about the work that they do as long as they continue to be treated fairly and are compensated. Like nobody works in those conditions out of the goodness of their heart, and nobody should be forced to be in an environment where your work either isn't being recognized or is being undervalued, and you're being treated very poorly. Like, so let's go.
Talking about
seriously.
NPR, I listened to an NPR talk on unionization in the arts, which is increasingly getting a big push. But also there's that problem you just talked about, Mayanna, which is that, there's not as many arts jobs. And so there's often that sort of like, you get to do this mentality.
Yeah, you should
Oh,
be
yeah.
so grateful you get to work here.
It's a dream job, right?
People would kill to be in this job.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People would sell their first child, and you're like, all right, neat.
It's like, no,
I can't
you got
eat food.
Yeah, I got the job because you need me because I'm talented. You
Exactly.
hired me because I'm a fucking artist and I know what I'm doing.
Somebody
for you guys,
else
right?
will if
Yeah.
you don't do it.
Yeah.
Somebody else. All right, relax.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's bananas.
And then, unless there's anything else on this, but it kind of relates to the next topic. There was a big article by Rebecca Valentine over at IGN. Oh my gosh, this one is a super long read, but worth it. About Bungie and about how toxic the culture has been at Bungie. And this one hits close to home for me because, it kind of focuses on the writing and narrative department over there, and a lot of the stuff they had to deal with in terms of not just like big problems like crunch, which details quite a bit, but problems with misogyny and all kinds of terrible toxic things, and lots of great examples and interviews, and disappointing
Yeah.
because we didn't know Bungie was this bad. I guess.
Yeah, I have a friend who just got a job over there as a writer like a couple weeks ago. I don't know how, of recent a lot of these accusations are happening. But
yeah, a lot of it
definitely sounded
is
pretty
a
bad.
little bit old. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of focused on a time period, I think, in the like late 20 teens, but because some of them are former employees, but
The frustrating
can
thing
imagine,
for me is just that these come out. I mean, again, it's just because the culture has shifted. So now people are like willing to actually like read this and report on it. But it's like
Right.
things that happened that have been happening that continue to happen for years and years and years. And I don't know. It always just makes me question. It's like, did people not know that they were being harmful? Even if they didn't know, that's not an
Right.
excuse. And how could anybody feel good harassing someone in 2021? Like, do you think that no one's going to find out about it?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. It's
Yeah.
a good business practice for your longevity to not harass people.
Well, that's kind of like what you have to do to get through to these people sometime, right?
Yeah.
And that's why people just need to fucking get the chopping block when this stuff happens. It's like,
Agreed.
it's like, this is what happens when you're a piece of shit in the workplace.
But what if we put
you
them
know?
through management training? I think I think we should just pay them to do like 3 months of management training at their
Yeah.
same salary from when they were harassing people. I think that'll help them learn. Give them a couple videos to watch.
There's a lot of really detestable stuff in this article, but one of the ones that's really upsetting is how there was an HR person or high up HR person who's basically their whole job was to kind of, I don't know, not like massage it and not like get
Right.
rid of the problem. I don't know. I can't say this right. I don't know. Like, but basically not help. But
Totally.
Hear the
Sweep it under the
concern,
rug.
report on it or write it down and then
Well, that's one
gaslight
of-
them or whatever. Yeah. Like,
I mean, that's something I was going to bring up when we were talking about the last story about Activision is like, I think that's another great reason why unions are very, very important within a creative industry. And I think a lot of time too, it's like people are told that the HR department is there for them for situations like
But
this,
they're not.
right? But
It's
yeah,
not.
I mean, and not to say that there aren't great HR people. I've worked in companies with excellent HR people, but
Totally.
you have to understand that the HR representative is a representative for the company.
Yep,
and
they're there
always
to make
has-
sure that the company continues to stay in good standing.
Exactly right, and that's why unions are so important. Having workers being able to look out for each other and set their own rules, right?
Yep.
Is like very, very important in situations like this, right?
Yeah, like the most effective archaic standard was just like if you as a woman knew about somebody who was a problem, you would warn your coworkers about them.
Right.
And that was like what did they call it? Like in regards to the Vic Mignola, who was like a voice actor for Full Metal Alchemist, they called it like the squeaky staircase or like the squeaky step on the staircase, which is just
Right.
like avoid that step and you'll be fine.
Right.
Wow.
And that can't continue to be the practice that
Totally.
works
No.
the best.
And just to tie into all this stuff to previous discussions we've had too about, credits in video games and people not getting credited when they aren't on the project at the end. That's kind of stuff could be solved by unionization too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so, that unless there's anything else on this sort of last bit, that's our news for the week. Any final thoughts before we move?
First of all, I think we can and should do an entire episode on this. I think we could talk about this for a very long time, and that's something we've actually been talking about doing behind the scenes. Sausage made. Here's how it's made. But then also I want to give props to Rebecca Valentine for doing this piece as well. Like, she's decently new at IGN. Like, she's on the Nintendo Voice Chat podcast quite a bit, and she's like a great like fresh voice, and taking on like such a massive journalistic endeavor like this, like pretty soon after being hired. I just really respect that, and it like my respect for her like went up a lot reading this article as well.
Totally.
And so I just wanted to give cheers to her for that one.
Yeah, and you don't think of IGN often as being the hard hitting,
like investigative journalism. Yeah.
And these are hard articles to write, and they take a lot of time and a lot of research and a lot of people's trust. So good job to everyone who was involved in helping that story come to fruition.
Yeah. And hopefully it's like stuff like this comes out and it stings, and Bungie's like, okay, well, we got to get our shit together right now. You know what I mean? And it's like, and again, like we're saying, big sea change hopefully is kind of on its way in. Yeah.
Well, then that does it for the news for the week. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking all about Game Awards 2021. All right, this week we are talking about the Game Awards 2021, which just happened this past week. And so we're going to be going over the awards and the announcements and our thoughts and feelings about this show as a whole and what it could do better and what it does well. Maybe we can be positive every once in a while. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we'll be okay.
All right, good. Glad to hear
well,
that.
We'll see as the discussion evolves.
Well, so the Game Awards has been happening for not quite a decade, I believe, right? In this current iteration, something like that. But it's had previous iterations. And it's sort of a Jeff Keighley joint. He's the mastermind of this whole shebang. And the always host of it, which is one thing I have in mind of a suggested change.
Right there with you, Patrick. 2 words. Maybe a few more words after it. Ben Schwartz.
Right.
Hosting the Game Awards from now on.
We are already there then. So
okay,
yes.
What about 2 more words? Timothy Chalamet.
He's a gamer.
Right?
He's a gamer.
But
he really is, though.
Yeah.
As soon as Ben Schwartz came out on that stage, he just was so Jeff Keighley is obviously like a host, right? And he's fine. But when Ben Schwartz is out there, he just felt so comfortable and and it's not like his jokes were amazing, but like it was just the energy shifted. Like, and I was like, why aren't they hiring comedians to host this?
Anytime a comic actor presents at an award show, it is so painfully apparent the like that they are just so much more comfortable reading off a teleprompter and B, just like being in the moment and not like freaking out. They just have this nice like settled energy because this is most of the time it's like talking in front of a large crowd of people. And you see just like the reps, you see how it's like, it's just this thing that if you practice enough, you could probably get good at it. But if it's not something that naturally is in you, you don't look like you belong up there.
I'll do you one more and say improvisers.
Yeah, well,
that too, man.
He's an improviser too.
Yeah. Ben Schwartz is definitely an improviser in addition to being like a scripted comic actor. So I think that there is something to that. I think that like anytime Kristen Wiig presents an award at anything, Maya Rudolph presents an award at anything,
Stephen Colbert,
they're just so much more comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
In front of a big audience. Yeah, it's like they thrive on it as opposed to like just get by. Or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
I love how we started the Game Awards discussion with just like a big old fuck you to Jeff Keighley.
Well, here's the thing: like,
he's a good
not
guy.
that
He
it
seems
shouldn't
like he's a
exist,
good guy.
just that you shouldn't.
He could be
Be
like the
hosting?
secondary host if it's his thing and he really wants to have his face on there.
What
or
about
whatever.
like Conan or like Stephen Colbert? Because like they do gaming segments or they've interviewed game design. Like there is that affinity there for sure
Yeah.
to get some names if that's what the goal is.
I think that just after watching, like I only started watching the Game Awards a few years ago, and I think at this time around, I really felt Jeff Keighley hosting fatigue. Like he's clearly enthusiastic about it and gets, has the connections and whatever, and so he makes the show. But it did feel like, man, hire somebody to be the host.
Was there another gaming award show? Was it Spike TV that had one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had one back in the day.
Gotcha.
That like
think
Samuel
he
L.
was-
Jackson hosted or something.
Yeah.
Right? Like
He was kind of involved with that too, I think.
Yeah.
It's like he knows the space, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, somebody else's host maybe.
Just make it a little shorter. I think Jeff is fine. I agree with what everyone's saying about Ben Schwartz. Just like providing an air of confidence and like anything he would say would kill just because no one else. I just spit all over myself. No one else is making jokes, and so just his presence that he felt confident to deliver these jokes with like it killed because he's like sticking out of everyone. Who doesn't have that natural charisma or the natural comedic understanding.
They need like the Neil Patrick Harris. Like they need like the
Right,
guy
like
who
Tonys
hosts the
or whatever.
Tonys. They
Yeah,
need their version of that.
I totally agree. If you just Jeff is fine. Just like shrink it down just a little bit, decrease some Jeff time, focus on more of like creators or the presenters that come out. Make it less of a Jeff show and more of like a game.
We could still call it the Keeleys if he needs his name on it. That's fine. Everybody does it anyway.
That's hilarious.
I was going to say, I think maybe given where we are, we should start with some of our criticisms of the,
I think we're already
format
on it.
and the show. Like, so go ahead, David. What were you going to say?
Well, I mean, okay, let's just jump right into it. Well, and then we'll talk about what worked. Because I think it's like if you also like look around online, I think there's a lot of negativity around it this year, and I think it is getting old. And it's like I think part of the reason that I don't know, it's just like especially with Jeff as the host, it just feels like Summer Game Fest or like here's a whole bunch of products, consumers. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is meant to be, I know like at least how he sells it is like this big celebration, right? And it's like having it not be like a trade show and more like an award show, I think is like super clutch. And I think having someone who's a presenter is going to do a lot to change that, right? It's like,
I also think like they clearly want the show to feel very like legitimized, like a traditional award show. Like everyone's very well dressed on stage, but then you've got the designers and the leaders of these companies wearing like a t-shirt and jeans. It's like,
oh my God,
lean into the aesthetic. Lean into the like this is not a ballroom situation. Like that, like you're never gonna get that kind of expectation. Like, and you shouldn't. Like, gaming is separate in terms of an art form. Like, it has a more relaxed vibe to it. So, like, adding the prestige kind of feels like you're trying to legitimize this art form. It's like, see, like fancy people dressed up and came to our show. It's like you shouldn't want to. It's like getting invited to your older sister who's a lawyer's wedding. Yes. You don't want to go to that event. You don't belong there.
Yeah, but you're gonna rent a suit for it or something.
You're gonna rent one because you don't own one. You own a bomber jacket. Like lean into the casual, cool, relaxedness. Don't try and make it feel like something that it really isn't. I mean, it is an art form, but it's different and distinctive in that way. And
see, I feel like I kind of take the opposite approach. I'm like, and anybody who was on the Discord call while we were watching the Game Awards can attest to this. It's like, I think that the Game Awards should be like a black tie event. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like I think like straight up, like it should be like tuxes and it'd be like fucking like make it like the Oscars. Like go all in. If I see one more game developer or whoever go on stage in jeans, a t-shirt, and a blazer over it, I'm gonna lose my shit. It's just like, and then the worst thing too is like every single like female game developer or voice actor, whoever that went on stage is dressed to the nines in a fucking ball
because
gown.
they know what event they're going to. I think it's
Exactly.
like you have to go to one of two spaces. You have to lean into the fact that this is not a dressy event because the gaming industry and art form, I think, calls for like a more street style or a relaxed style. Or if you're going to make it a black tie event, you have to have a strictly enforced dress code, as you're saying. And that's really more for the men than the women because women have to look nice wherever they go.
Exactly. It's like, let's meet it, right? Like, I say like, if we're trying to be prestigious, like the Oscars, like let's treat it like the fucking Oscars, right? It's like, and I think that like gaming is at prestige level now. You know, we've got shit like The Last of Us 2, which is like, that's like a very super serious, super high budget game that's like, you know, that's about as prestige as it comes these days, right? And it's like, and so it's, I don't know. But
I think prestige means something different in the gaming space. That's just my personal opinion, because I think it's like what makes it so unique and interesting is that these people who are very creative in a different way that allow you to engage with emotions in a different form do that through this style and this method of doing so. And those people are informed by their experiences and their style. And it is different. Like, I don't think people making it feel like it's a real award show is going to like be like, see, we're just like you guys. The reason why I think gaming is so different is because it refuses to conform to the expectations of the rest of the industry. But again, that's just my personal opinion.
If I have to pick an opinion, I'm with Mayanna. Also, I would be fine with the Oscars stripping it down a little bit too, or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I think it's just.
Oh, come on. Let's have a gala, Patrick.
I like the Golden Globes because at least they get to drink during it. And I think that helps everybody.
Maybe that's what we need to be. Is
get them at tables. Get them at tables talking to each other.
Get 70 foreign white reviewers that determine the entire thing.
Broadly speaking, though, like I think that there's an identity problem, and I think we could agree on that, right? Like, and I think that like what kind of a show is this with the awards and with the announcements, with the fanciness, with the casualness, with Jeff Keighley talking about Spotify Wrapped every 5 minutes or whatever. Like, there's just, to me, it's a little bit weird. Like, I don't know what I'm exactly doing here, and it's 3 hours of it, or longer than that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, let's throw Jeff a bone, like for a second, because like
just in case he's watching. Hi.
Oh, we know he's watching. But yeah, we love you, Jeff.
Big fan.
Here's what's wrong. No, but to his credit, like something that I do like about the guy is that like the day after this thing is done, as people's passions are at a high and they're all super opinionated because they just watched it, he goes on Twitter Spaces and hosts an open mic or whatever and is like, hey, let's talk about it. What would you guys do differently? You know? And so I really respect that.
That's cool.
The problem is he's been asking people what they think for a while, and it kind of gets more and more commercialized every single year and becomes even more of an ad every single year. So it's like, there's a balance between like people like want it to be a celebration of games. They want it to be an award show focused event. But I think the problem is these game companies are paying Jeff large amounts of money, which are then going directly into the budget for the big show. Yeah. And so he has to give them their time. Right. And so it's like, it's a hard line to go down, but it's like, it's one that could be solved. Again, it's like, if we want to make it, and I'm talking too much, I apologize, but it's like, if we want to make it more like the Oscars, I mean, what the Oscars does, it's like the Academy of Motion Pictures and Sciences, right? And it's like all of these different individual unions are all members of the Academy, right? And so like when, you know, the fucking sound editing Oscars the nominations are picked, and then the winner is picked from that group of nominations. It's people from like the sound recordists union or like people within that part of the industry.
They recognize the artistry and they recognize to a certain extent. But I mean, I will say again, with the problem with the Academy as well is that the Academy can be bought in the same way that, you know, like you can boost the visibility of a film or project.
Yeah,
exactly. So it's you know, the human element and the personal feelings associated will always kind of inform at the end of the day what art gets recognition
Right.
and what art doesn't. I think the other thing too is award shows, and I've slowly become somebody less invested in award shows. I used to be like a very big like, they told us what the best thing was. It was this one. And now it's sort of like a lot of different things can resonate with people for a lot of different reasons. And awards are a nice way to check in with the general zeitgeist or the pulse. But I think they're less something that people should hang their hat on, because there are all these commercial interests and these other enterprises involved in boosting certain things for whatever reason.
When's the last time y'all watched The Hurt Locker?
Dude, never. Not even once. Never seen it. I watched the King's speech the day of the Oscars because everybody was saying it was going to win. And so, of course, that informed me assuming it was going to win. And then it did win. So I was like, ha ha, I'm cultured. But that's not what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy made Cats.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking
But
love
the
that
King's
movie.
speech was good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I
Damn.
agree with
What you
just what everyone else is saying. It's like, who's this for?
Yeah.
Like, is it for me? Because I'm watching this like in a purely on a personal level to approve my biases or like confirm my biases.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I want this game to win the best game of the year, or I want to see this trailer for this franchise.
So then I think you just nailed it. That is who it's for. It's for people who I think on some level want their hobby to be legitimized in the same way that film nerds get to have
Totally.
the Oscars and TV people get to have the Emmys, I guess.
You know who it's not? It's for the winners of the awards, because either their name is said and then they move on to the award within a matter of 5 seconds, or they're on stage for 30 seconds and immediately ushered off.
Yeah.
You know, like even the game of the year, it's like Joseph, what's his name?
Yeah.
Freyers or whatever.
Yeah.
The guy who made It Takes Two.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, he was on there for like 30 seconds and it was like,
Yeah.
all right, show done. And that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it just doesn't feel like they're getting their just time, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
It definitely feels like the trailers and the announcements are the priority
Yeah.
to me watching it. But at the same time, and this is a totally subjective thing, 90% of the trailers don't matter to me. Maybe even more than that this year. And they're never, that's always going to be the case, right? Like there's somebody that's excited about every one of these announcements, and that's great. But it does feel like the volume of announcements to me is where I think, oddly, even though that's the part I'm more interested in, feels I would like it to skew to less announcements and a shorter show and a better paced show, and give the actual awards some time to breathe. If I was
think
gonna
so.
make,
Yeah.
I mean, but again, it's the predicament of like, then how do you pay for it? Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Oscars are in the same situation too. You know, like it's like viewership is way down on the Oscars, but still at the Oscars, they're not like running 3-minute clips of Spider-Man No Way Home. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
they'll
not
do,
like
like-
announcing the big,
They'll do like
you know.
homages or like, and now a send up to horror. And it's just
yeah.
a bunch of
That's-
clips of horror movies. And you're like, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
Well, I do think that maybe solving that problem is making it less of a big fancy event, right? Like it doesn't need all that if it's a small, I don't know.
I
But
solved it. You guys.
everybody
Are you
wants
ready?
things
solved. What
Here's
is
my
it?
pitch. Are you
Please.
ready?
Yes.
Package
please.
it with E3.
That makes
Yeah.
the most sense.
Package it with E3. Everyone's promoting their games anyway. Have it on like the last day. Nobody
Nobody's
goes to
gonna
cons
watch
on the
it.
last
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Everyone's in town already.
I think that like the problem with that is that nobody watches it then.
Oh yeah, I'm totally not serious.
Right?
There's
Like-
no way that's a good idea. I'm sure there's a laundry list of
But I
why
mean,
that's not a good idea.
But it's also like, you know, it's like you've got groups like the ESA and something like this. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
but I think I think Keeley hates the ESA, you know, and I think he wants to do his own thing. And I think he's
Yeah,
really trying to like,
totally.
and so it's like, I don't know that he's ever going to play nice. He's always going to have his own kind of like, I've got my Summer Games Fest, so you guys have E3. Like, they're just going to both happen.
I don't think it should be an individual person's enterprise then.
That is
Yeah.
a good point, right? Like this is how Jeff Keighley wants it to be. And that's why it's this weird mix of all these things.
But what does Jeff want it to be though?
This, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think
So-
Jeff wants his bag.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, get that bag though. Never interfere with the bag.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I don't care how you get your bag. You got to get it. Everybody's got to
get that cash.
get that bag, sis. Let's go.
I'm just looking at the numbers from last year. The viewership numbers aren't out yet for 2021, but just looking over the past few years, it increased from 2019 to 2020, 45.2 million to 83 million. So I wonder if it almost doubled from 2019 to 2020. So I wonder if we see a significant increase.
Well,
this
I
year.
Tried to look this up, and then maybe it's not a legitimate source. But Stream Charts said like that it had a peak viewership that was less than last year. So I don't know if that's true or not.
But
it's being
restreamed and being shown in all these different avenues. Yeah. It's like, it's not like the Oscars are like ABC, you better have it. You know
Yo, dude, like, that's why I don't watch the Oscars. I don't have no TV channels.
I just think that the viewership has to influence the length. Because if Jeff is just like, hey, we doubled our viewership over the past couple of years, and then they're like, we can make more money because we're getting more eyeballs on it, and then it becomes more commercialized. And that's why it feels more commercialized this year than last year.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like, you get stuff like the Sonic movie. Sonic movie makes a little bit of sense.
That's fun, though. I like that they're like, hey, we're going to boost not just other games, but other like game-related media. The Halo show. Yeah,
but then there's like Nightmare Alley, right? Like which I'm happy to see. I'm a Guillermo del Toro fan, and I know he like did PT.
He just loves games, and I mean, he also worked with Kojima.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like it's got this kind of Hollywood influence, and we saw that at the end of the Game Awards last year with like the whole Tekken incident with the Fast and the Furious actors, and it's like that closed the show, and so it's like
that's fair. That's fair.
It's like kind of I feel like I like the Sonic stuff, but it's like kind of at some point we kind of have to pick a lane a little bit, like Simu Liu coming out and kind of like totally bombing a bit he was trying to do, like didn't help me
awkward.
Feel that, you know what I mean?
I think it's like certain celebrities make sense because again, like Ben Schwartz makes sense. Like there are certain celebrities, Zachary Levi, who is Shazam, he games a lot. Like, and maybe Simu games, I'm not sure. But it's like there are certain celebrities, actors, comedians who love games and who are also like good stage presence. And it's like that should be prioritized because they're passionate about the source material or just the event in general. And they will also bring like stage presence, and that will be nice. But overloading it with celebrities who don't necessarily have a direct connection to the industry. Ugh.
Yeah.
It's also expensive, I bet.
That as well.
Yeah, what I hear you're saying is like gamers want authenticity. Gamers expect
that's 100%.
Gamers expect authentic presenters who like people who love these franchises or love these games. They want some authenticity. Like Jeff brings the authenticity. Jeff really loves the game industry. That's why he's in his role, because he's really authentic.
Yeah.
Gamers can smell bullshit from like a mile away, right?
And they know when somebody's trying, like, here's the thing, a trailer, obviously it's trying to sell you a game, but you also just know when someone's trying to sell you on the thing you're already invested in. And it's like, I already know that I like games. You're talking to me as though I need to be convinced of that.
Yeah.
It's like, look how cool games are. See? Simu Liu likes games. It's like, no, I know. I like games too already.
I feel like he was also like making fun of gamers too, which wasn't a good look.
Yeah. And then they have lots of industry people on that aren't very good stage presence too.
No.
Some of them are, like Reggie's got an okay stage presence, but but a lot of them are just awkwardly reading, and then they just introduce a segment or something, and it's like, I guess that's okay if they had better stage presence.
Like there are some people whose whole job within game industry is to sell people on projects or to read out large decks to shareholders. And like there are people within those companies who have that skill set, who are good public speakers, who can compel a room to listen to an idea. And either they're not in higher reporting positions, so they don't get considered for those opportunities, or maybe they're shy or nervous or don't want to be considered for that stuff. But it's like, look to the people within your organization who do this a lot, and they should be the ones who can present to these things. And I know you want the CEO to show face or whatever, but it's like, represent your company with your best foot forward, in my opinion. If you're going to bring industry professionals or insiders to a presentation like this.
Like, what do we want? Like, like for me, the biggest thing that I want is just a smaller, condensed version that respects my time. That has some, like an hour. An hour is a perfect amount of time.
90 minutes maximum. 90 minutes maximum.
I mean, we have this. Fine. See, we have this debate just about this podcast and how long it should be in general, and that's always on the realm of it being a little shorter. I think 2 hours. I think 2 hours is completely fine for this. But again, this is somebody like, I love the Oscars, right? I love the pomp and the circumstance and all that fucking bullshit. It's like the one time a year where I'm like, oh yes,
it's like your 1%. Super Bowl.
You know what I mean? Like for some reason, it's like it's just like I get off on the Oscars. I think it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like
it's like a fan fiction. All of your favorite people who have to go to the event. Who knows who they'll run into?
It's like the one time I kind of like, okay, having a little modicum of like celebrity worship, right? Other times I always roll my eyes. That having been said, even the Oscars like are a little bit too long, but I think you could get it in 2, right? And I think the Oscars could do 2 as well,
100%.
But it's like hard. But I think it's like so much more than that. I think it's like qualitative rather than quantitative, right?
But
like
what if it was an hour?
What are you gonna do? You would have to rattle. Just do it. If you did just the awards, you'd have to rattle them off.
That sounds great. Then that gives us a show where it's about the awards and the prestige, and not.
But you gotta give the devs their time on the stage.
Here, let's take what we
exaggerating just.
Let's take what we agree about. It's too long. Whether you want to bicker about an hour to 2 hours, we all agree.
3.5 is definitely too long.
Yeah,
if you count.
And also, then it feels rushed at times when he's like, "And now let me announce 5 awards in a row."
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah,
and they always do that. And maybe it's fine if they have some awards where they don't have somebody come up on stage, but to be like. Here's a 2-3 minute trailer. Here's a 2-3 minute trailer. Here's 1 minute of me reading off awards. Feels wrong.
It's really
even if it was like, still again, maybe not bring somebody on stage for every single one, because a lot of awards shows do that, right? Like that's fine, but it does feel bad.
Definitely. Yeah. And then you have to prioritize who gets stage time and who doesn't. And that always, it's like, well, you see, like we want to prioritize best game or like best RPG over, and they didn't even do that. It was one of the ones they railed off, right?
Yeah. Right, it's Tales will Rise, right?
Yeah, Tales will Rise. Yeah.
Well, we should talk about the actual award winners and the actual announcements. I know we've talked a lot about what what it could or should do better, and maybe we can end on more of that if there's anything else. But to the extent that we have strong opinions about the actual awards, or there was anything we were actually excited about with announcements, let's start with the awards. We've already talked about this, but It Takes Two was the game of the year. I think for all the complaining we just did about how this feels like a certain segment of the video game industry that gets sort of focused on this sort of AAA console experience, It Takes Two is kind of an unusual game to win.
It's an outlier.
Game of the year.
Yeah.
I was taking a chance on an unknown kid. I'm very, very happy that It Takes Two won Game of the Year. I think that's very, very special. Very, very happy for them.
Yeah, I don't know that It Takes Two is my favorite game of the year, but I certainly wouldn't argue with it winning, right? Like, and that kind of goes for almost all of the awards that actually were given. Like, if we want to talk about that, like who the winners were, like they all felt like pretty deserved, I think, throughout the night. There was nothing where I was like, that was bought off or whatever, right? Like I felt like they kind of, even if I disagreed, I felt like it was fair, all of the things that won for their respective categories.
Definitely.
That's good. I don't know if there's anything you're specifically excited about, but best game direction, Deathloop, best narrative, Guardians of the Galaxy.
That was a shock, but I haven't played it, but I've heard that it was a big surprise. Like it was much better than people were expecting. So I'm glad that it gets that recognition, because I remember during like whatever the PlayStation event was where they were, or Square Enix event where they were revealing all of their upcoming stuff, they spent so much time on Guardians, and I was like, God, I really just don't think this game's going to be very good, because they're talking ad nauseum about it. So I'm really glad that that's not what happened.
And then there's a lot of awards we could talk about, but we got to mention Best Action Adventure, which Metroid Dread won. One of the very few Nintendo wins, since we're a Nintendo podcast. And we also have to mention that Nintendo lost the Nintendo category, which is
for best family game.
Family game. It Takes Two won that as well. And all the rest of the nominees were Nintendo games that lost. Usually Nintendo wins that category, but so I don't know. Is there anything else specifically y'all want to talk about in terms of the award?
Game, I think the game for, I think it was like Social Change or Game for Impact, which is Life is Strange True Colors, which was a very lovely experience. And I think that Before Your Eyes, I think, was also nominated, and that was also a very lovely game. And I do appreciate that they gave a category for games that I think typically do fall out of the traditional kind of genre pillars, because I think there are certain games that do want to do something very different, and I'm glad that they have an opportunity to be recognized and celebrated and appreciated for what they are trying to do, rather than comparing them to something that is doing it quote unquote better, or like a traditional gaming experience.
Agreed. Yeah. I'd like to see more awards like that. Like not just like, hey, games that represent marginalized communities or whatever. Like, that's great as well. And I think they actually did a good job. Yeah. And they started doing this, showcasing different kinds of gamers that aren't just your typical gamer as well, which I like those segments. I wouldn't want to see those leave. Yeah. But I'd love to see more genre stuff, or more like stuff that can showcase some of the breadth of what gaming has to offer outside of just AAA games. You know
I 100% agree. Like, inclusivity is one conversation for sure, but generally speaking, like, I know people are like, games about feelings, but I do think that like what Life is Strange True Colors specifically did was it represented a very distinctive family dynamic, and one that I think a lot of girls specifically get placed into, which is being this emotional placater and being the peacekeeper in their family, and made that the driving narrative force, which is something that doesn't get talked about a lot and is like a really complex, layered issue. Similar again with Before Your Eyes, the idea of reinterpreting your own narrative as something better than what it actually is, because you're either grieving or coping or dealing with whatever. And I'm being vague so that I don't spoil too much about either of these games, because I think they're really good and people should play them. But just telling a story that is different and very difficult to tell through the language of gameplay and interactivity, which I would like to see that continue to be recognized in more categories, as you said. Totally agree.
And then I'm not trying to rush us. If there's any other awards you want to particularly highlight, please do so now. I
mean, let's just say well earned for Metroid Dread winning action adventure. Love to see it. I think it had to win something at this thing, right? You know, if it wasn't going to win Game of the Year. And so I'm really glad to see that. It was also a rare instance of Doug Bowser in person, not just on a Nintendo Direct. I think he did a pretty good job. I heard some people being like, "Oh my God, he looked so nervous up there," and I was like,
I don't
know. I thought he actually handled it really well. And he's, it's hard when you like. It's like when both Reggie and Doug are on stage at different points in the night. Like, you're always going to kind of compare to Reggie just because he's such a natural presenter and he's great in front of a crowd. Yeah. But it's like, but I thought it was nice to see Doug Bowser up there. I kind of wish we'd also seen somebody from Mercury Steam up there, because I think they were also in the house. But yeah, it was. I was just nice to see Daddy Doug saying something on stage.
Well, then let's move on, just for time, to the announcements. I could be wrong, but it felt like there were a lot of announcements comparatively to the last couple of years, just in terms of volume. Oh my gosh. And like we already discussed, not just specifically games, but also there were movie clips like Matrix and Sonic and the Halo TV show, which all feels, within the realm, but it did add to the lots of trailers aspect of this show. And then, like I said, personally for me, there weren't a ton of trailers that were amazing for me. There were a couple I found interesting. I'm sure we'll talk about the Sonic one. That one was obviously cool to see. The
Sonic
Wonder
Frontiers.
Woman, the Wonder Woman game looks I mean, we didn't see anything. A lot of these games are just title cards and stuff.
Yeah,
too,
Wonder Woman
but
was like a JPEG and
Yeah.
some shots of like an arm.
the idea of it seems possibly interesting. I don't know. Is there any announcements that y'all want to mention? Is either good, bad, long, weird, interesting for whatever
I'm
reason?
surprised and confused and not surprised by the Quantic Dream Star Wars game. I think it makes sense. I'm surprised. I just want to know what the meeting was like because I don't know how Frenchman could just go, we have the Star Wars people coming today, and the rest of the office go, yeah, definitely. And then the Star Wars people come and they go, hello, it's us, Quantic Dream. If you're familiar, we've made Detroit Become Human. And before that, we did Heavy Rain. And so let us make a Star Wars. Come on. Let us make one.
Watching that trailer was definitely like, is this Star Wars?
It was very tribal inspired. I don't even know if that's the right, but there was a lot of a different interpretation.
Drum beating.
A lot of drum beating. A lot of like, and it seemed like some sort of sacrificial ritual to summon the shadow being, which I mean, why not?
Well, this is interesting for a couple reasons. One of which is good and one is bad.
Yes.
And I think I think it's cool that. Okay, a couple things. I think it's great that to see EA not just like totally own Star Wars now. So it's nice to see anybody else have it, right? And then also I like that this is in the High Republic era. It's like very funny what Lucasfilm is doing with that right now. It's very Shadows of the Empire experiment style, where it's like they've got books and comics and video games and soundtracks and all this stuff set within this area. All the stuff that would accompany a film, but with no film, right? Like that's kind of what they're doing.
And that's Quantic Dream style always.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so that's cool. But it is like, and I'm excited to see the kind of game that Quantic Dream would do with Star Wars, but it's like Quantic Dream is also like not without its own controversies and, like that's not a super popular studio, and just like in the midst of all the Activision stuff, it's like it's a little weird it's like a monkey's paw sort of situation.
They have a lot of harassment allegations, specifically like homophobic and like men harassing men who are gay who work at the studio, which I think's not cool. And again, I'm also not as well read on it, but I'm sure there's a myriad of other types of harassment, but that was the one that I heard about, and that was the one I believe they went to court
Elliot
about.
Page stuff and
Yes, that. I will say I am a Detroit Become Human apologist, which is something that I am cognizant of. Is not a good thing to be. I really enjoyed Detroit Become Human. I know I'm not allowed to say that, but I did.
I think Matt, you enjoyed that game too, right?
Yeah. I really enjoyed it.
Did something happen?
Did people not like it?
I actually don't know.
It's a split room. I think it's taken on a second life specifically within like Twitch streaming and like commentary channels playing it and enjoying it, and it has like a good following in that vein, but there's a lot of people who are very critical on the themes and the fact that it's like robots fighting racism. I personally don't think it's bad. I don't think it's a problem. But I know a lot of people do, so I want to be cognizant that I honor and I understand and respect that.
Well, now it'll be droids fighting racism.
It'll be, those droids are alive. They are free, and they are here for liberation. Yeah. And also the Shadow Man is here too, out of the black liquid. Don't know what that means.
Doom.
What else? Any other trailers or announcements that?
Yeah, let's talk Sonic Frontiers for a bit. Yeah,
Sonic Frontiers. Yeah. They so like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the official confirmation that it is an open world. I think they're calling it open zone.
That's funny.
Game.
So speculation, it's going to be kind of like how Halo Infinite does it, where it's like kind of sectioned off connected areas of open world, right?
It's like gotta be that.
Yeah.
I just don't see a Breath of the Wild Sonic working.
Yeah, he's just too fast.
He's too fast, and he doesn't have like crafting isn't really a part of Sonic. He doesn't have weapons. Shadow had weapons.
Well, apparently there's going to be a skill tree in this thing, and like upgrading your abilities and shit like that.
That's good, I think.
For whatever that's worth.
What if it'll be like a a Samus Metroid situation where you start really strong to learn learn all the mechanics, and then Dr. Robotnik comes with his simulation computers and destroys all your powers, and you can run fast, but not as fast as you want.
I'm going to be that guy and say that the villain, quote unquote, the shadowy being, that felt like a straight ripoff of Breath of the Wild. That there's like shadowy being that we're fighting.
There were multiple Breath likes at this award show. Chia being another one, right? Is that what it's called? The PlayStation game. That's like a cross between Odyssey. Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, right? With the whole kind of capture mechanic. But it's like, I don't know. I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see Sonic Team like do something different. You know,
it should be cool.
Yeah. But it's like there have been tons of leaks around this. Like Sega, unfortunately, just can't keep anything under lock and key. And it's like, this was leaked a while ago. And basically, this was confirmation of a ton of stuff from like a 4chan leak that happened a bit ago, which also was coupled with Odyssey 2 information, by the way.
Yes, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of that Odyssey 2 stuff is kind of now like, oh, is that true? Because the same guy leaked all the same stuff, but and it had no traction whenever it originally came out. Now we're like kind of seeing that it's confirmed. But anyway, I think it's cool. I like the idea as well of there being like kind of giant enemies. It looked like almost Shadow of the Colossus-y, how you would have to like kind of climb some enemies in order to like go up. I feel like that could be really cool in like a Sonic style game.
A hoop on a giant villain's back.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to do a little loop-de-loop.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, was there anything else? I mean, maybe the Gollum game, the Lord of the Rings Gollum
that
game?
looks great.
Yeah.
It looks so crazy. I love it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big announcements if you it's worth checking out.
I could still drop some that I was interested in. I mean, I thought Hellblade 2 looked spectacular.
Agreed.
And again, I'm a big fan of giants. So there's a giant you have to fight there.
That was good gameplay for sure.
Yeah. And if that's really Unreal Engine 5 in-engine real-time shit, like that game is going to be absolutely breathtaking. So very much excited for that. And I was just a big fan of the first Hellblade, so that's exciting.
Hell yeah.
I dropped The Expanse earlier in the pre-show. It was one of the final things in the pre-show that the newly reformed Telltale
with Deck 9, which is great.
Yeah. They're doing an Expanse game, which is awesome. That would make a really great Telltale game. And Kara G, who plays Kamina Drummer on the show, she's one of the best characters on the entire show, and she looks to be like kind of the main character of this. So I'm way on board with that.
Hell yeah.
And then also I think Telltale had like a Star Trek thing as well at one point, right?
That sounds about right. I'm glad that there's a choose your own adventure like narrative company still kicking around. I do think that Telltale, I mean, I just hope that they carry with them a different culture moving forward. I think pairing with Deck 9, who I don't know if they're the publisher, I don't know what their involvement is, but like Deck 9 has done, work with the Life is Strange series. So intrigued to see what that synergy looks like.
Yeah, I think they did the Switch port of True Colors.
David, I know you're a big Dune head. Were you excited about the Dune game announcement?
Although I thought the trailer was kind of lame. But yeah, I mean, Dune has a long history in games as well, and it's always been in the kind of real-time strategy genre. So it's cool to see that. I mean, that's kind of what that game seemed like, right? Like a RTS game of some nature. So it's cool to see them continue to do that. Yeah.
I know we need to move on soon. So Matthew, I haven't heard from you. Was there any trailer that spoke to you?
I think, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League looks so fun. Yeah, we haven't seen a Rocksteady game. Is it Rocksteady?
Yeah, who does the Batman games?
Yeah. We haven't seen a game from them for a long time. So it's nice to see whatever the gameplay looks like. It looks like you're playing these 5 different or 6 different characters. You can switch between them. I think that looks like a really fun mechanic, and all the characters look unique. I'm excited to play it. It was one of the most exciting trailers in all of the games this year.
Quick lip service. I'll talk about this in the games we've been playing, but the Matrix Awakens thing that they dropped and the whole tie-in with the movie. If we want to talk about like next gen looking to the future of games, like that's where it's fucking at, you know? And so I think that like them closing the show with that was like towards the end. Right. And it was like, that was definitely a good part. I mean, if you want to talk about how to do like a movie tie-in while also showcasing the industry, I thought that was actually a pretty good reveal.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I got two more things. The first
Oh, yeah.
thing is Final Fantasy VII coming to PC, which was also part of the NVIDIA leak.
For $70, by the way.
Oh yeah, so expensive. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Excited for the PC players to play that.
Epic Games
and
Store exclusive.
We
You know,
thought
if
we
you
were
don't
gonna,
buy the PlayStation 5 color covers, you can afford to buy Final Fantasy 7 on PC.
that's an extra $60.
Yeah.
And we didn't get Chrono Cross. We thought.
That's true.
We were gonna get that Chrono Cross remastered.
No Zelda, no Nintendo.
No
Chrono
Nintendo
Cross.
presence at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's.
Nintendo was
I think
not-
so can we officially write off Samus Hunter as a credible leaker at this point? Because
I
Samus
don't
Hunter
know.
was like, they're going to
think-
continue the 35th anniversary celebration at the Game Awards, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we could probably have done that already, but
Do you think just the Nintendo doesn't? I mean, they don't really need it, you
they
know?
don't need it?
Like they
Yeah.
can kind of do their directs whenever they want. They can release updates whenever they want. I think of many of the studios, they're like the most self-sustaining ecosystem.
Totally. So
Yeah.
again, that stream charts, don't know if they're to be believed, but they said that this was the third highest like game event of 2021 that was streamed, and I think the other ones are like Nintendo Directs. Right?
I mean,
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
it's like
so
when people alert the masses that a Nintendo Direct is coming, like that is a must-watch event, and they're so short.
Imagine that. What a concept.
They're so short, and it's just the stuff you want. Sometimes they talk, and I do skip it, but
Well, it's
you
not
know.
trying to be anything else. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's like, hey, this
Yeah.
is a 40-minute commercial. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
not like a 40-minute, the 3-hour commercial under the guise of an award show.
But David,
With an
what if they made a
orchestra.
90-minute Nintendo Direct? Would you love it?
Yes, I would watch
All right.
the whole thing.
the whole
right, yo.
thing.
Yes,
gotta-
of course I would.
we got to wrap up this conversation so we can talk about the games we've been playing. Is there anything real quick anybody wants to say about either something we forgot to say or something to close us out about the Game Awards?
Glad we have them. Good to see them evolve and grow like a Charmander into the mighty Charizard.
Yeah. I think it's stuck in Charmeleon mode right
I know,
now. but maybe we'll
Charmeleon. I was
eventually
like,
get out of it.
should I say Charmeleon? I mean, are they in their Charmeleon phase right now? Is that where
Yeah.
they're at? You know?
Yeah, they're in the War Turtle phase, which is the most
Oh,
awkward
yes.
middle Pokemon, I think.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's like, let's get that war total going. We'll be Blastoise before you know it, guys.
Yeah, I think just to kind of go back to something that we said before, it's like what this really is, and people compare it to the Oscars, but what it really is, it should be compared to the Critics' Choice Award.
Agree.
You know what I mean? Because this is a critics show. They're the ones that pick everything, right? It's the critic, and it's like, and so I think like, I just think like I would love to see them put more effort into the award show part. And I think like that's my biggest takeaway from all this. Like, of course, yeah, like it's fun to talk about the reveals, but we didn't even, most of the show, this episode has not been talking about the reveals. It's talking about the problems that we really had with it. And I
Yeah,
think
it's
like,
true.
I think it's important. It's like, yeah, these things are great, but you could also drop a lot of this shit on fucking Twitter, man. You don't have to carve out time for a Wonder Woman JPEG. I'm excited that there's a Wonder Woman game coming out, but most of these games we didn't even get release dates on, or
That's
even
true.
release years. I think a lot of the stuff we saw here is 2023 and beyond.
Well, yeah,
And so
and a
it's
lot
like-
of it, you'll be like, hey, this game was announced at the Game Awards 2 years ago, and now this is our second look at it or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
It's like, get
like,
ready for the hype train. Hop on for the next 2 years. Woo woo.
Yeah.
And like
So-
Star Wars Eclipse Quantic Dreams game is like the culprit number one for me because we don't know anything about that game. We didn't see any gameplay, just like cinematics. That's a long
Yeah.
ways out.
Yeah, that's true.
Watch
Alright.
them drop it tomorrow just to fuck with you.
Please, how
you
dare
specifically.
you? Yeah, it's just
Oh,
me,
God.
Matthew Stoner, Quantic
Well,
Dreams.
I was
Fuck
totally
you,
wrong.
Matthew.
I was totally
I'll
wrong
take
with
it. I'll
my
take the attention.
Chrono Cross shadow drop theory. That was unfortunately very far off. Yeah.
All right, we got to move on though. So that does it for our talk about the Game Awards. We'd love to hear if you agree with anything we said or disagree. Do you think the games that won the awards deserved it? Do you think they need more time on the awards? Let us know. And then we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the games that we've been playing recently.
We're a tux.
All right, so I'll go first. I haven't been, well, I have been playing something new, but I'll start with the old things. Been playing more Animal Crossing, Smash, and Shin Megami Tensei 5. If you want to hear me talk about that, you can check out the Optimal Fusion. But I did fire up Paper Mario on the NSO.
Very good.
Start playing that, which is so far pretty early on, but been an enjoyable experience. And I also had no idea how much Origami King is like a 1-to-1, like the story, like so many things are literally the exact same in that very Nintendo way. And I did not realize that that was the case. And now I do. And so that's interesting. But I've been playing that with my kid and that's been fun.
Great game.
Yeah.
I'll go next. Mine's short. Halo Infinite. It's the whole reason I went to another goddamn state. So I put many hours, ate a lot of snacks. My stomach is wrecked, and it's great. It's such a good game. I'm glad they're finally going to give us a Slayer playlist. It's coming.
Did they announce that?
Yeah, that's coming out tomorrow, the 14th. We're recording on a Monday, the 13th.
Have you started the campaign? Sorry to interrupt you.
I will not play the campaign until I can play co-op.
Co-op.
Really? Yeah. Wow, you're holding off.
Yeah,
I was interested in your thoughts on it.
Yeah, we were doing the tour in the museum, and the guy who's giving us the tour is like a PR kind of community building part of 343. And he's like, "You play the campaign yet?" And we're like, "No, we're waiting for the co-op." He's like, "It's pretty good," but he was like a little upset that we didn't play it yet.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he's like, "It came out today, man."
I know. I was like, "Well, we're here for multiplayer. Like that's our thing. We play together." And it kind of defeats the purpose of why we're all together. I have heard nothing but good things about single player, and it's taking me all my willpower not to play it and not to read spoilers. But that's what I've been playing, that one game, and so far so good. Fam.
Yeah, I'm interested in the value proposition of the fucking physical version of that game. You know what I mean? It's just like there's nothing on the disc, and there's something but barely anything. And then it's like the multiplayer is free, and the campaign is like 6 to 7 hours or something if you blast through it. And it's like, what even is a game anymore? Is it just a game? Is it just
same
game
conversation
pass?
about like Metroid Dread? That was a short game, but a great experience.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not split in half, and half of it's put on Game Pass for free, or you know what I mean?
It took me over 20
hours,
but I imagine Halo Infinite would also take me longer than.
Maybe. Yeah. Anyway,
at least
that's a conversation for another time. We'll talk whenever you've played the campaign.
It's a date,
but yeah, it's a date. Sometime in June. I don't know when the fuck co-op's coming out.
It's fucking May, dude.
Yeah, it's so long. Anyway, so what have I been playing? A lot of random shit. I kind of got back into Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I think probably because you were talking about it last week, Patrick, and it kind of got it back on my mind. And man, that is just like one of the fucking finest platformer 2D games ever made. It's so good. And I don't know. My heart is so full knowing it was made here in Austin, Texas. Aww. And in fact, I screenshotted one level I know my friend did the art design on, and I was like, yo, nailed it.
Is it a silhouette level?
Yeah, it's the silhouette level. He's probably listening right now. So good job, buddy. But yeah, and it's every time I play that game, I notice new shit in the backgrounds that are beautiful references to Donkey Kong Country Returns or even earlier in the franchise. And it's I don't know. It's just, I love games like that are made with tons of heart, and every time you play it, there's something new to discover. It's just such a wonderful game. And then other random stuff, more Picross. Been playing Splatoon. I'm back into I'm trying to get into ranked and league matches now, because I'm trying to play multiplayer and actually squad up. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do right now for my multiplayer gaming. But then other than that, I talked about it earlier. And the Matrix Unreal demo. Have any of you guys tried this?
Not yet. I hear it's great.
Just me? Yeah. So this is the first time Unreal Engine 5 has been on a home console now. And I played it on my Xbox Series S, which is the weaker of the two Xboxes. I think this thing is topping out at 720p or something like that on the Series S, right? Because there's a lot going on. but boy fucking howdy, gang, does this feel like the next generation of gaming, right? Like I'm playing this thing and you know, it starts with like this kind of, it's more of like a movie. It's like a meta kind of movie tie-in where well, it starts with like one of the opening shots of the movie, The Matrix, like when Neo's like at his computer and like wakes up. But and I thought it was live action. I thought it was footage from the movie, but it's all being recreated in real time on my Xbox. And that's like just straight up the first time I've ever been tricked into thinking that something was shot on a camera, right? So like that was mind blowing in and of itself. And then you've got like kind of Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss kind of doing this like kind of meta, like, hey, this is marketing thing, you know, like there's a movie coming out. But then it kind of turns into this big action car chase sequence where you're like shooting out tires and stuff. And it's just mind blowing how it looks, right? And how, you know, and all the car destruction is like, it's physics based. It's generated on the fly. Like it's every time you play it, it's not like canned animations of these cars like exploding and stuff like that. And so that's really insane. And then it lets you just explore this whole city that they built within Unreal Engine 5. And I spent like straight up an hour just like walking around, driving around, flying, going on the tops of buildings and like seeing everything. And it really blew my mind, guys. Like, I think the thing that really blew my mind was like, you fly up to any building, like any of these skyscrapers, and you go and you can look into the windows of every building. It's not just crazy. It's not just like a 2D thing. Like all the rooms inside are built out. And yeah, they have like kind of repeating, it's like just a sofa or a desk or whatever. But it's like the 3D space is there and it's modeled out. And if you wanted to go in, you could see all this shit. And just the crowd dynamics and the traffic and all this kind of shit that they have going on all at the same time. It's really something special. I recommend you check it out. And I think it's really great that they put out a tech demo for Unreal Engine 5 and they were just like, cool, everybody can download it right now and try it out. And I think it's like one of the best ways to really showcase this new engine. And I was really blown away by it. I recommend if you have a PC, like a good powered PC or one of the new Xboxes, to check it out. And it's also great because it's also like, yo, this is why we need to stop cross-releasing everything on PS4 and Xbox One. Because this can't happen. Like the stuff they're doing on here can't happen on the last gen of consoles. Like this is like just Xbox Series and PS5 and PCs that can do this right now. And so it's like, if you want a glimpse into what the future of gaming is, like definitely check out that Matrix demo. It was pretty incredible stuff.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Mayanna, what have you been playing recently?
I'll be so fast. Just Animal Crossing. It's so great. The update's amazing. The Pokemon remake, because that was a nice nostalgic time for this old lady. Unpacking, which was a delightful experience. I shed a tear or two at the end. And I am also quietly awaiting the Bug Snacks DLC update. So I played a little Bug Snacks to remind myself how good it is. Because I'm very excited about the Isle of Big Snacks. That's a little taste into what I'm normally doing.
I still haven't played Bug Snacks. It's a good game. It's definitely worth it.
Yo. I mean, yeah. It's like really good. It's really good. You should play it. It's so good.
Talk of Bug Snacks. Is it as good as that banger of a song, Bug Snacks?
That's what it's for. That's what it was for. It's brilliantly
kind of bug
written.
And kind of snack.
It's an island where all of the bugs are snacks. So, you know, you'll have like a burger that's a little elephant, a strawberry that's a little like, you know, little flea kind of crawling around, and you eat them, and then, you know, you are what you eat. So the locals are starting to turn into snacks themselves. What could that be about? Methinks. It's really good. It's really funny. It's weirdly dark. It's the guys who made Octodad, I believe.
Which I loved. Yeah,
it is one of my favorite games I've played ever.
Everyone's talking about Bug Snacks.
Talk about Bug Snacks.
Bug Snacks.
Thanks, Mayanna, for coming on and talking to us again.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. This was so fun. It was such a wholesome, nice time.
I'm glad to hear.
Thanks to MilkyWay.co, does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
Hey, I'm Matthew on Twitter, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much ever on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, Mayanna? Where can people find you online?
Oh, me? I'm on Mayanna Berrin on Instagram. That's where I do most of my shenanigans. And sometimes on Twitter, I believe it's at BE Mayanna. I'm on there once a month to retweet art I think is nice. So if you want to know what I'm up to, don't go to Twitter.
Yeah. As somebody who is entrenched in animation Twitter, I'm there for
It's
that
just
kind of
like,
content.
nice,
Yeah,
nice,
exactly.
nice. And then end of it. No opinions for me on the Twitter. No.
I love to see it. And then if you'd like to find our show on social media, ladies and gentlemen, we are at Switch Headz on Twitter, at Super Switch Headz on Instagram and Facebook. And then please join our Discord community. It's growing every day. It's such a wonderful place. It's like a breath of fresh air in these troubling times. Join our Discord. It's awesome. And our Facebook group, which we will also have a link to in the description of this video /podcast. Yeah, that's about it. That's going to do it for today's episode on the Game Awards and what we thought. Mayanna, it was great having you on. As always, we'll be sure to have you on again. And we've got another excellent episode for you guys coming up. We got some cool episodes that we always do at the end of the year coming up. We'll be doing our own, the Golden Headz Awards, which will be coming up a little bit later in the year. And then,
True Game Awards.
The True Game Awards. The real OGs.
Take notes.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be sexy as fuck.
Yeah,
Tuxedos.
this is a black
Dress
tie
up,
event. Yeah, we're all renting tuxes for this
From our
thing.
half shirt up.
Yeah.
We're gonna call them the Tsum Sumis. Anyway, so we got those coming up. So make sure you stay subscribed to this channel on YouTube. Even if you listen elsewhere, subscribe to us and like our videos on YouTube because it helps with the algorithm. We love to see that. We love seeing you guys interact with us on there and any and all social media. So thank you guys very much for being such a beautiful, lovely community. We'll see you guys soon, man. Everybody be safe. Get your fucking vaccine. Get your booster shot.
I'm doing mine on Wednesday. Do it. It's a good
There
idea.
you go. Take Mayanna's example and get your booster. You're going to be protected. We got the holidays coming up. Don't get your parents sick. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boy fucking howdy, gang.